on social media, some of them on the UFS streets, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise yet. My name is Evodia Muhanyane, and I will be hosting the webinar today. Welcome to our regulars. And if you are new on our platform, we are super excited to share very informative resources with you. But also, I think with the ultimate, you might as well just call us the ultimate plug when it comes to all things securing your grad. Now, before we start with the webinar, I want to send a huge shout out to everybody that participated in our registration, starting your securing the grad journey with a good start. We spoke about academic advising. We also spoke about registration, gave you nice tips there on what you should do, as well as appeals, making sure that you do not get caught up in appeals. But if you are, how can you still start your journey right? Now, today, we've got various companies with us. We've got Investec joining us. We've got Standard Bank joining us. We've got Housing and Residence Affairs. We've got Study Trust joining us. And these are some of the corporates that are funding or that have funding opportunities rather for our students. We want to make, we've heard your voice on a surveys that you've been completing at the UFS around funding being a big issue, not just at the University of the Free State, but nationally in South Africa. We know that many of our students are on NSFAS. If not, they are self-paying students, and this seems to be a huge stumbling block to them securing that graduation. Now, we are here to help you, bring you the freshest on-point information and making sure that funding is not the biggest issue in your academic journey. Now, remember that it's important for the effectiveness of this webinar that you keep your microphone as well as your camera off, with the exception of our guests, of course. We want to make sure that this is really smooth and that you can hear all the good and on-point information. Our team in the background is there to engage with you. We want to hear all your views, all your thoughts. I see we're already having everyone in the chat telling us how they feel, how excited you are. I certainly cannot believe that it's Friday already, but let's see. Let's make sure that we get your questions, we get your comments on the chat. And remember, we will also be having a giveaway at the end of our session. Just before we also jump into our conversation, we want to make sure that we bring you the freshest, hottest, and most relevant webinars, but also excellent webinars. So please do give us your feedback. In the chats, you'll see our team posting our feedback link. So throughout, do engage, leave us your comments, tell us if we were a hit or if we were a miss, or you're not sure, and where we can improve. We'd definitely like to hear your voice in that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us quickly get into our guest introduction. If our guests are here, I'd like to see their cameras. I'm not seeing their cameras on. There we go. Our very famous guys. We don't bring fly-by-nights here, ne? We make sure that we bring proper people, like what TikTok celebrity da, you know. But Zolani is not here in his TikTok capacity. You know, he's joining us from Investec. So just a wave to our guests. We're gonna get into the formal introductions. We also have Kihilwe Mutsabi from Standard Bank. So guys, we're making sure that we bring people here. We also have Dr. Murray Hofmeyer from Study Trust. Dr. Murray, a nice wave to our guests. I do not see Kovsie. Is Kovsie here?
I am here. It's just that I'm having technical issues with my camera, but I really would have loved for you to see me.
I think Kovsie is trying to hide her face bead. I think she's got like a cool face bead going on, but she doesn't want to outshine the host. So Kovsie, I think it's good that you're keeping your camera off. You know, I'm trying to improve my social media following here. So I think the universe is just saying, okay, we're going to keep your camera off for today, that we put the spotlight on you, Odia. So Kovsie, welcome also with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have our colleagues here at the University of the Free State who will be talking about student accommodation, especially junior residences and senior residences. Who can qualify? What is it there for? So Mr. Hein is here with us, Ms. Vinci is here, as well as Dineo. Give a nice wave to our audience before we get into the introduction. I'm super excited. I know that students, we've been talking amongst each other regarding regarding, Mati, who's going to pay for my funds? What's happening, and people are stressed here. We don't want you fainting here on the streets. So we want to make sure that we bring you the information, and also that you can take action as early as possible. Some of the information might not be relevant for this registration period, but we're bringing it to you early enough so that you can take time, gather those documents, write those motivation letters, get someone who's going to help you read through your application. Remember, getting it slow and steady on time might just be the trick for you in obtaining that bursary, that scholarship, that internship, or all other things that we're talking about today. I'm going to move directly to our guest for an introduction. So here at Secure the Grad, we like to keep it nice and personal. We don't talk to strangers. Now my parents taught me I don't divulge my information to strangers. So we just want to hear a little bit about yourself. Tell us about the role that you play in your company. And if you have a pet or a budgie or anything that you'd like to do on the weekend that maybe you want us to know about, over to my guests.
All right, I'll definitely kick us off. Thanks a lot, Evodia, and a very good day to all the students and everyone else that's joining us today. Igama lam nguZolani. I am a Xhosa-speaking man, born and raised partially in the Eastern Cape, but went on to stay eKapa, eKhayelitsha. So if anyone is from eKhayelitsha here, I'm here with you. And I'm based in Joburg, but home will always be home. And as introduced, I work for Investec as a CSI consultant. Professionally, I'm trained as a clinical social worker, and I do enjoy clinical practice over the weekends. I do have a pet, Evodia. His name is Toby. Anyone that follows me on TikTok knows how naughty he can be. And he is my love. He is my everything, honestly. But yeah, that's who I am. I'll nominate Muthabi.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, the student. My name is Kiilwa Muthabi, but they call me Fifi. So you guys, when you see me around, can call me Fifi. Currently, I'm staying in Bloemfontein, but originally I'm from Kimberley. Like Asif and K-Stair. The one that people say we have a unique accent. So I'm married, I have children in Bloemfontein. I'm staying here. My home is here now. I don't have a pet, but what I would like to do, I want to do a zip lining. So that's the thing. I'm afraid of heights. So bungee jumping, I'm not gonna do it. The only one that I'm willing to take risk is the zip line. So that's me. I'm currently working at Standard Bank. I'm a team leader at the branch at the University of the Free State. So guys, I'm available. So come in numbers.
Don't worry, Kinelo. Our kids are almost like our pets. So they follow you everywhere. They are very naughty, Zolani. So I look forward to our conversation with you as well. Let us perhaps go to Dr. Murray.
Thank you so much, Evodia, and it's a wonderful opportunity, and I really, really enjoy being in this particular forum. On the account of me being from the Free State, I grew up in Kwakwa, before it was even Kwakwa, when it was still called Wetsi's Corner. And I should have gone to your university, but at that stage, there was no theology department or faculty, so I had to go to another university, but I still feel a deep sense of loyalty, and that's always strengthened when I encounter people from the Free State and from Bloemfontein and everywhere in the Free State, because there's just something there. There's something, I don't know. I am a great admirer of the late King Moshoeshoe, and I think he just instilled something very, very special character, very special character in the people that are from that area. So it's a great privilege to be with you. it's a cold place, that where I grew up. So after spending my first 18 years there, or until I went to university, I then had to. My first job was then up north in the areas where it's a little bit warmer. So I always say I had to first go to freeze. I grew up in Kwakwa, and then it was too cold, and I had to go to Venda just to bring me back, so that I can be in the middle now at Joburg, where it's the best climate in the country. Not too warm, not too cold. And in Venda, I was at the University of Venda. So I have 18 years of being a university lecturer behind me. And that then prepared me well. I was also in charge of the student development for some of the faculties. That prepared me well to now be where I am. Study Trust National Director, working with Zolani, also working with Standard Bank, Kovsie, also from Investec, and many other corporates who give us money to give as bursaries, and then also to support students. I love my job, and especially to be here with my friends. Looking forward to the day. My passion is sailing. Even when I grew up in Kwakwa, always kind of on Sundays we would go to the River Khojan or the Elands, and we would play with our boats, our sailboats. I am passionate about sailing. I'm sailing every Saturday with my fin at the club, and that's what I do. That's kind of where I get my away time.
Okay, now I know. It's always interesting to think about, I wonder how I can pick up a new hobby. And I've been trying to get into sailing. My previous line manager was crazy about sailing. And I thought, me, water, I can swim, but deep waters, like life-threatening situations, let's leave those for other people. So, Dr. Murray, I think as maybe a December gift, we might look into getting a little bit into sailing, but don't hold me to it.
Good. Yeah, no, I can encourage you, and I'm always following that. At the moment, the ocean race is on, so every time I get to drinking tea, I just quickly check what are the boats doing. Is my favorite? Where is it on the whole thing? By the way, my camera tells me I'm disabled. Am I? Can you still see me?
We can see you.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, Kovsie, I'm nominating you, Kovsie.
Kovsie, pass on to you.
Thanks, Mari. Thanks, Evodia. Hi, everyone. My name is Huita Naditwene, but my colleagues call me Huiti. I'm a CSI intern at Investec Bank Limited. I'm originally from the Northwest in Rustenburg, but I'm currently based in Johannesburg. I've recently completed my honors in internal auditing at the University of Johannesburg. And I'm a very chilled lady. I like going out for lunch, for dinner, all those nice little things. And yeah, I've been with Investec for over a year now, and for almost a year now, and it has been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
We're looking forward to a chilled conversation with you as well, Kovsie. So I'm going to try keep the tempo chilled. I cannot promise once again, but I'm going to do my best. Welcome with us.
Thank you.
And over to our colleagues in Housing Residence Affairs, Mr. Hein, Ms. Vensi, and Dineo, over to you. Can we see our other guests? Oh, so they will be joining us. I'd not read the note. I think I'm not 100% prepared. I'd not read the note that they will only be joining us at 2 o'clock. So for the first half of our conversation, we'll only be talking finance, and from 2 o'clock, we'll move over to accommodation. So ladies and gents, now that we have all the introductions, to all our attendees, you have no excuse now not to interact with our guests. You know about them, you know about their hobbies, you know about their pets, you know about their children. So let's get right into this conversation. And Kihilo, we're going to start with you with Standard Bank around what products do you offer, particularly in terms of funding opportunity. So what can Standard Bank offer students regarding funding?
Evodia, thank you for this moment. Is it possible that I can have share the presentation?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Do you have a share function on your side?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I just want to put it in the presentation mode and then just want to go to my.
While we're waiting for Kihile
Can
to,
you see the screen?
Not yet. It hasn't loaded yet. I will let you know once it has loaded.
Okay.
Colleagues, if you can see on your side, please indicate. I know Microsoft Teams has been lost with Monday's or Wednesday's webinar. We've not been able to see what's happening on the screen on different sides. So if you can see on your end, please indicate in the chat to us. Ozolani, please let me know as well.
I was able to see her screen. It was showing on my side.
Okay, I see some people indicate a thumbs up, and
Can you
there
see
we go.
it?
I can see on my side. There we go. Gile, go for it. We can, it's now
All right.
visible.
Thank you, student. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity in this moment. Like I said, I'm from Standard Bank. I work as a team leader at this branch at the University of the Free State. I'm also just an ambassador for the Bloemfontein. For the youth segment, I have to go to other institutions in the Free State and also the schools. So I'm not actually based just sitting here at the varsity. Today we're going to talk about the early careers. That's where the Standard Bank is focusing on the youth. So my agenda today is going to be on the bursaries, which falls under the education funding and the scholarship and the student loan. And then the other one that falls under the early careers is the graduate program, the internships and the learnerships. So with the intro, I just want to say this is from Standard Bank. This is what they're saying, that at Standard Bank Group, we are creating possibility for all of Africa's people, but we can't do it alone. We need dreamers and doers like you, talented young people with ambition for your own future and Africa. Fearless individuals who see things for what they can be and understand that the hard work can change the world. So this is from Standard Bank Youth segment. So under bursaries, we do have a bursary that is with Standard Bank. And then the bursary is available if you require the funding for the first, second, and third year, and also for the ones that want to do postgraduate and the master's level. So to apply, you have to be a South African citizen. You have to have achieved at least a minimum of 65% in the latest exams or the mid-year, be a registered full-time undergraduate or postgraduate, and meet the admission requirements of the university if applying for a postgrad. The following field that they cover for the bursary is for accounting, actuarial science, analytics, commerce, computer and data science, economics, and engineering, finance, information technology, investment, mathematics, statistics. So on how to apply, we have a website. On that website, you go to Kuma website. It's not on the Standard Bank website. You go to the Standard Bank website under the bursaries, early careers, but on that website, you will click on the Kuma website. That's where you will get your application form. So unfortunately for the 2023 application forms, it's closed, but for 2024, for next year, you can apply on April. It's April until September. So for this year, it's going to be people who applied last year. So if you have any inquiries when you're on that website, there's a lady you can send an email. The nice thing, they've put a name of the person and who's responsible for those bursaries, how to go about any information or update on that when you have applied. Can I continue?
Yes, so those are the bursaries, Kifile.
Yes.
I know that there are also loans that Standard Bank offers. Could you talk to us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, I'll come into that one. And then on the bursaries under the university, we have the chairman's scholarship. The scholarship is actually for the masters, but the scholarship is basically on the overseas international varsities. So the varsity that they work with for this chairman scholarship is the University of Oxford, London, and the University of Cambridge. So the same way you do it on the bursary, you also go to that website, you apply directly to those universities if you want to do the masters and you want to study overseas or international. So the one for the scholarship, the applications, I think those one, they also closed. They'll be open the same way as the bursaries. Ne? So you just need to go into that. They differ with the closing date because it's different universities. So you need to go to those website of the different university. They will give you the closing date. And then to the other last part, the student loans. The student loan, I don't have a presentation on it. I can explain that one because the information is a lot. So I didn't want to put it to have a long story there. So with a student loan, we have two different types of student loan. We have the one with a surety. We have the one without a surety. I'm going to go first with the one with a surety. The one with a surety, it needs someone to be there for you in case you won't be able to pay when you finish studying, or someone who will be paying for your interest while you're still studying. So the surety is just paying for your interest. And with the surety, it does not have a maximum that they cover for you. So the minimum is 5,000 and up to whatever. And then with the surety, you need someone who's working, someone who can cover for you your interest while you're studying. The surety only covers the interest, does not cover the full loan. The student will take over the loan when you finish studying and get employment. That's when the student can take over that student loan. So with that one, it does not even, it covers for every faculty, for any studies that you want to study. It does not choose, and it covers from first year until whatever you want to study when you want to finish your master's, your doctorate until. So that is the one with the surety. And with the surety, it covers you for everything. When I say everything, your tuition fee, your accommodation, your books, and your equipment, maybe your laptop or your desktop or whatever, or your tablet. So remember, when you apply, you need to give us the quotation of all those things. The quotation for your tuition, the quotation for your books, the quotation for your accommodation, and also for your equipment. Then we will transfer the funds to all those bank details with those quotations. So now the next one, the one without a surety. The one without surety works differently. The maximum of that one is 120,000. That one does not need a surety. But remember on that one, it covers for students from third year. But we do have faculty where it covers for all years. So we do. So I just want to emphasize that one. When students need information about that one, we do cover for others for all years. I know the faculty of BSc on social engineering, geology, some of them, they are covering for all years. So for more information on that one, they can come to the branch, then we can print out that on those one that covers for all years, but mainly it covers from third year onwards. So the surety, the student loan without surety is from 120, not from 5,000 to 120,000. That one is kept to that 120,000. It's not like the one with a surety. It does not have a cap. So without a surety is from 5,000 until 120,000. To be honest, with the one without a surety, majority have been approved. I've never seen one being declined unless it's not the faculty that we are covering. And remember, it's also, we are partnering with different institutions. It's not all the institutions, it's mostly the universities, accredited one here in South Africa. And the University of the Free State is the one that has more faculties, to be honest. And you will start paying that one after you finish studying when you get employment. So remember, the interest rate, we're trying to give you less interest rate on that one because we know that it's a student loan. So they're giving them the prime rate. So with that one, it's not so bad. While you're still studying, you're doing your master's or you're doing your honors or you're doing your third year, you're struggling with NSFAS. So this can be the answer for you. And then when I talk about the NSFAS, I mentioned that one. The NSFAS, I know some students, they're still waiting, they're in pending, they don't know where they're standing with the NSFAS. So while you're still waiting, you can come to us, we can assist you, because with us, the student loan doesn't take long. When you apply online. The student loan without surety, you apply online. With the surety, you come to the branch, to the consultant. So, but if you have a problem, maybe with having access to the internet or whatever, you are more than welcome to come to us, to the branch. We can assist you. And then with that one, if you're still waiting for the feedback from NSFAS, you don't know where you're standing, you don't know if you're approved or whatever, you can come and apply as long as you have the proof of registration. Maybe if you did, even if you don't have the proof of registration, we can assist you with that for now. And you can apply. And then once NSFAS approve you, some of them, I know they came after 3 months, after 4 months, saying that they only gave me feedback now. And what they did is we give them the paid up, the confirmation, the proof of, not the settlement of the student loan account. They take it to the NSFAS office. NSFAS close that account, and then you know that you are covered with NSFAS. So while you're still waiting, you can still come. And the other nice thing about the student loan is this: your historic fees, you can also include them. They are up to 80,000 that they can cover for your historic fees without 120. So for your current, it's up to 120, and historic is up to 80,000. Any question?
That is so informative, and looking at a lot of the messages that have been coming through, as well as in our previous webinars, we know that many of our senior students particularly do struggle with that historical debt. So they've got a bursary or there's a scholarship, but unfortunately the scholarship cannot cover you if the institution is not willing to enroll you. And most institutions are not willing to enroll students with a large or a big historical debt. So that is quite helpful for our students to know that while they're waiting for feedback, either from NSFAS or from their bursars or from family to put money together, that there is this option. And from what I hear you saying, Kifihilwe, that it does not take from the 120 wallet that is available, that it's a separate maximum of 80,000. And then in addition to that, you still have this 120. I just want to ask in the audience, is anybody related to Mr. Khanyago, Leseja Khanyago? Or anybody that sits on the MPC committee, because yay, Ipramias Bulala Bagit. Like, please, guys, if any of you, Dr. Mari, if you are related somehow, or you have connections there with Leseja, please ask him, like, can he just think of us? Those of you who pray, please send prayers to the heavens that
Yes.
Prime does not increase, because, hey, guys, come on. But I think just going back to our conversation, these options that Standard Bank offers is really helpful for many of our students, because sometimes they have 4 or 5 modules left before they get that degree, they secure that degree, and that 12,000 outstanding debt might just be the thing that stands between them. If you are a UFS student on the Bloemfontein campus, between you and Human Stage, if you're on the Kwakwa campus, between you and Nelson Mandela Hall, and if you're on the South Campus, between you and the Madiba Arena, and everyone else that's not from the UFS, wherever you will be graduating, that debt might just be the stumbling block between you and obtaining that graduation and going to work. So Kiula, we will circle back in our conversation when we get to the Q&A. So please, if you have more questions, do put them. Our team is busy noting them so that when we get to your question and answer segment, that we can get those questions answered. So if you hang 10, let us quickly move to Investec, to Zalani and Kovsie, to hear about what opportunities, funding opportunities you have available for students.
Sure. No, thanks a lot, Evodia. Just to check in, if you're able to see my screen, is it showing yet?
It is showing and you are audible.
Perfect. No, great stuff. Fifi, it was so great hearing some of the offerings that Standard Bank has for students. And You know, the tricky thing with the university space is that you know that this degree is so important. You know that South Africa actually needs the talent. Yet there are all these financial barriers that are sitting between people actualizing their dreams and the nation realizing talent. And so I think it's always great to see that there are different institutions that are devising different strategies to ensure that students are at least, afforded the opportunity to say, I've got a degree, I may be unemployed, but I've got something that gives me hope. Because I think, people are talking about unemployment and the fact that graduates are unemployed, etc. But if you're looking at the numbers, the graduate unemployment is a lot less than the national average. And so there's something to be said about an education and having that piece of paper. I think it's very important. And of course, on TikTok now, there's been a growing trend, a lot of young people are saying that academic regalia is so great in winter. You know, when it's cold, vele uthi gown yakho, pole up and talk, or, it's always great. So I'm hoping that, the young people are actually feeling that they can aspire to being, as much as they can actualize their dreams. So I'm here to present with Kovsie. And so Kovsie, is our intern has introduced. And so we'll talk through our presentation. It's very short and very concise. The idea is to really tell a story of actually what could be should you get an opportunity with Investec, right? So in essence then, there we go. I just want to talk you through some, the structure of our bursary program. Murray is here. Murray is the champion behind the actual support that we provide to our students because Study Trust is a partner to Investec. So if you're looking at the structure of our bursary, we're a full course bursary, but more than anything else, we provide holistic support to students. So we're not just throwing money into you. We're not throwing money into your academics. But in essence, we are saying you're a full human being. How can we set you up for success throughout your academic journey and post-university, right? So we'll cover tuition, all the accommodation and transport and living allowances, all that stuff. You will not have to worry about money when you are funded by us. That will not be a struggle that you carry in the course of your academics. We then also provide academic and psychosocial support. What that means, it means and no shade, Evodia, but generally within South African universities, students take an average of about 2 weeks before they can get a proper appointment with a therapist in most cases. So you have to make an appointment ahead of time. But when you're funded by Investec, you tell me today that you need to see a therapist, tomorrow you're in therapy. Because that's the structure of the program, and we value the mental health and psychosocial well-being of our students, right? And so that's what we mean by psychosocial support. And sometimes it can extend beyond just psychotherapy to psychiatry, whatever the support that is needed. And so whatever is indicated, we try and provide as much support as we possibly can. And then also when it comes to academic support, we know that sometimes university gets real, academics get tough. And so you need that extra tutoring, you need that extra support. That also is a cost that is fully built into our scholarship. We incur the cost. You just give us the provider's name, you go for your tutoring lessons, and Investec incurs the cost. We also partner you with a mentor from Investec. So Investec staff volunteer to become mentors. You'll see as Kovsie is going to talk about some of the details of what we require in terms of the different qualifications. But in essence, what we try to do is to make sure that if you're a BCom law student, we can pair you up with an Investec staff member who has a similar professional background to you so that you've got a sounding board, someone you can bounce off ideas and challenges with. We also try to pair you with someone, who actually can walk a journey with you. Mentors, in most cases are the rock star of our fellowship because they're the ones who even tell us when a student is struggling. They'll say, listen, Evodia is really struggling with MEM 1010. That course is showing her flames. What can we do? And then we say, let's activate the academic support, whatever is needed. So that relationship is very important. And for some students, it actually extends beyond the university journey that they build a strong relationship with their mentors. And then lastly, we've got a work readiness program, right? And the essence of this program is to basically introduce students to the world of work before they actually start seeking employment. because we know the challenge of unemployment is real. But what we've said as Investec is that we don't want it to be that our students are ill prepared for the labor market. So the program looks at things like, how do you write a winning CV? What does a winning CV look like? What is a winning motivational letter? How do you show up during an interview, right? Who are you in the space of seeking employment? And also, how do you actually go about seeking work? Because I think a lot of students now think they must go online and apply for every job they can see. But, you know, the structure of the labor market in South Africa now demands something completely different to your typical job seeking strategies. And so we hire some of the top, I mean, some of you might know Fiona Martin, well-known industrial psychologist and award-winning. We tap into those resources. We bring the heads of HR for most corporates to come and talk to you about what they're looking for, etc. That actually is how we set students up for success. So that's the first, you know, the structure of our program. And then now, Khoitsi, I want you to talk to the eligibility criteria, please.
Thank you so much, Solani. With regards to eligibility, we have 5 eligibility criteria. The first one is we only offer bursaries to South African citizens because we aim to create more active economic participants in South Africa. And then the second and third criteria is financial need plus academic potential. So this applies to applicants who cannot afford to pay for their studies, but these applicants must show good academic potential. And the fourth one is that bursaries are only offered to applicants who are currently in grade 12 or in their first year of study. We will fund you for the duration of your degree. And at the end of your degree, if you feel that you would like to do your honors, we will also fund your postgrad. And number 5, applications are open to students who aim to study full-time towards an undergraduate public university. So my colleague Zolani will touch on the finer details.
Great. Realized I was on mute. Thanks a lot, Khoitsi, for that. So in essence, yes, as Khoitsi alluded, we will cover the cost of your honors. And the basic understanding there is that the honors needs to be a requirement for your licensure. So if you're doing the CA stream, for example, you have to do your PGDA. You can't be licensed. You can't get licensed with it, and so we incur that cost. If you're doing, you know, another qualification that requires you to have an honors in order to be licensed, then we incur that cost. But of course, we don't fund master's programs. We fund programs that are a lot more. We focus on the undergraduate and postgraduates that are required for licensure. So in terms of the different study programs then that we're looking at, there isn't much difference between Standard Bank and us in terms of the qualifications or programs that we fund. And the idea here is that we're trying to create a talent pipeline for the financial services sector, right? And so that's why we try and be more targeted when it comes to the qualifications that we are looking at. So your accounting, economics, investment, informatics, you know, your BScs, IT, mathematics, etc. And now, quite recently, we also fund medicine. And this is an exciting bursary opportunity that we've recently launched, where we actually provide funding to aspiring medical doctors. And part of the realization here for us as a business is that a lot of our clients are doctors, right? A lot of the people that actually bank with Investec are doctors. So we're trying to actually create, again, that clientele and client pipeline, but also quite fundamentally, we're trying to create a resource that we know that South Africa needs so dearly. So that's why we actually took it upon ourselves to commit to creating a medical bursary when we know that a lot of funders actually steer away from medicine because it is such a heavy commitment. You're committing to funding someone for 6 years, and that's a huge investment, right? But again, one of the things that we pride ourselves as with Investec is our selection criteria, that we select for talent and we select some of the high achieving people and talent in South Africa. And so we're not worried when it comes to things like throughput, etc. That's not much of a challenge that we do have. So academic potential is key for us. So we look at an average of about 60% and also, 70% for mathematics. We do not cover maths Maths Lit. I hope that's what it's still called. I hope it's still called Maths Lit. And we're also looking at English 70% for your first additional language. And then if you're doing English home language, we're looking at about 65%. And if you're a current first year student, you should have an average of about 60% in your, usually your first semester results. That's when most people submit their applications. It will be with their first semester results. So if you're currently in first year and you're actually thinking, yay, these Investec benefits and carried in nice, you would actually consider it. Start thinking about getting that DP. Start thinking about, working harder towards those exams so that your results actually enable you to apply. Financial need is key for us. So we're looking at students who actually come from backgrounds that otherwise wouldn't allow them to afford university. As Investec, we want to target the population of this country that is often left in the margins of society. So what we're saying is, the poor child also deserves to get an education. What we're saying is the child whose parent is the domestic worker also deserves to get an education. Excuse if you hear a bit of noise, the people cutting grass outside. But in essence, so in general, if you're looking at people who end up being selected into a bursary, they come from a household income of no more than 5,000, per person. And so we apply a means test that basically tells us, the income distribution within the household and how much would typically be spent per person in the household. So let's make an example. If your parent gets paid, I don't know, 300,000 rands per annum, right? And a lot of people have asked, there's the missing middle, there's this, there's that, what goes on, who selects on what basis? So the way our means test operates is that we'll look at a household income of, say, for example, is that noise not too much for you?
We love Teams because it has blocked out all other noise that is not your voice.
Perfect. So in essence, then we would take your household income of 3,000 rands, we divide it by 12, and we divide it by the number of dependents. That's what tells us what what household income would look like in this case. And then lastly, some of the key considerations that I think people should make is that you have to be studying in a South African university, a public institution to say. So if you're planning on going to a Monash or any other private institution, Investec will not be able to fund you, unfortunately. And then, Khoitsi, let's quickly talk to, and I mean, I think I've alluded to this already in terms of eligibility not being enough. I think it's important for people to own their story. You know what household you come from. You know what your narrative is. Don't shy away from your narrative, because that's often what actually, determines success in most cases. I think a lot of us now that we are older, we're a lot more comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm from Ekailicha, that's who I am. My parent was this was that. At home, we used to eat, pap and eggs, now it's exciting, whatever. But I think when you're in the tender age of adolescence or, early adulthood, it's so difficult to own those stories because there's often shame that comes with it. There's a feeling of, embarrassment. And it's so important that people are able to own their stories. And again, it's not to say you have to perform poverty or anything of the sorts, but that you are able to be true to who you are, because that's what selection panels are often looking for. And then, Khoitsi, do you want to talk to the selection process shortly?
Yes, Selania, let me quickly get through the slide. Regarding the selection process, applications open on the 1st of April and close on the 30th of September annually. All our bursaries are administered by Study Trust, so you can choose to apply via the Study Trust website, or you can find the direct application link on our website once applications open. So step number 2 regarding shortlisting. So right after the closing date, we Investec receive a shortlist from Study Trust, and together we go through each and every application, and upon consensus, we decide on a final shortlist. And the third step, we then invite the shortlisted candidates to our Investec offices for an in-person interview. This is usually a 3-day process where you'll be given certain tasks to complete. And then upon successful completion of your interview, you will be given a provisional bursary offer pending your final results or end of year results. And then once you've been accepted into university or your results are still within our academic potential criteria, we will then welcome you to the Investec family. Zolani?
Great stuff. I actually realized that my mute button is actually a lot slower than my mouth is. But really, no, that's about it. So in essence, when you apply, as Kovsie indicated, you get shortlisted, and once you're shortlisted, you're invited for interviews, and students get really excited by this because we will fly you from wherever you are in the country. It doesn't matter where you are. And Study Trust works magic in making sure that even if the airport is 5 hours away from your home, we will get you to the airport and you will be fine. Come into our office, we book you into a hotel, we spend a whole week with you, just getting to know you and engaging with you. And so it's a great opportunity for you to also meet other like-minded people. So a lot of students who end up not making it into the bursary usually say, listen, I may have not gotten the bursary, but that week that I spent with those people there in Sandton changed my life. It changed my view on life. It shifted my perspective. The minute I walked into the Investec building, I knew that there was possibility, and so there's something about the experience, and that's intentional. We do that deliberately so that people are able to imagine life outside of the bounds of where they come from. So my hope is that as you listen to Kovsie and I today, you're actually considering applying for the Investec bursary, because it definitely is where the money is.
It is certainly where the money is. Yo, guys, like Investec is like Instagram Live. Like when I hear you're flying us in, you're flying us out. It's Sandton Hotel. So guys, I hope you can hear that. Listen, I know, and I could hear some of our students, please do not despair. We have invited Investec, but also remember, the Standard Bank bursaries also cover quite a wide range, but we're going to be talking to Study Trust that does cater some of the companies or organizations and corporates do cater for students in the humanities. So please do not despair. I saw some of the comments saying, yeah, you don't consider us students in education. So hang 10, this is the first conversation we're having. We do have other partners outside of this that we will be inviting to our next funding webinars, such as Alan Gray Ober's Foundation, that cover a wide array of qualifications, including education, as well as the humanities. So Zolani and Kovsie, that was very informative. What I love about this conversation is also the fact that in addition to academic performance and good academic performance, you do also consider the student's unique story as well as circumstances. And I think that in itself makes Standard Bank a front runner in terms of funding opportunities for our students. I'm going to circle back also to you just before we get into our Q&A segment, because I want us to think about when students sign up for these funding opportunities, what are the terms and conditions? And that is a question that goes out to all our panel members that we'll circle back to in a few moments. Dr. Murray, if you are ready for us, we'd like to hear, what is Study Trust? Zolani has mentioned Study Trust. Kovsie has mentioned Study Trust, that it's a partner that they work with. I know what Study Trust is, but if you could highlight to us, what does Study Trust do? Who are you? And what opportunities do you have available for students in terms of funding?
Yes, thanks, Evodia. I'm really privileged to be here with Investec. So the first thing I have to tell you about our relationship is just a little bit of history. So we were established in 1974. And if you look at the Investec students, they also wear a T-shirt where it says, since 1974. So for some interesting reason, Study Trust and Investec were established in the same year. we were established to make sure that the opportunities are there for talented young people. And let me just say, talented in the beginning, exclusively talented Black young people, because at that stage there was, you have no idea how big the problem was. 1974, only 0.9% of people of the age from 16 to 20 were actually in matric, as we called it then, grade 12, standard 10. Can you believe that? Why are we complaining today that certain things don't work out? If less than 50 years ago, and almost 50 years ago now, we didn't allow talented young people to pursue tertiary education. It didn't happen in South Africa. So even matric was completely underrepresented. So that's kind of our legacy, and that's why Study Trust was established, to do something about that. So in the beginning, we only gave school bursaries. And today, some of our alumni, the old people, the retired people, they got a school bursary to go to a better school. That's how we started. And then as our bursary students, school bursary students got into, finished, then we went with them into university. And then they said, but are there no poor white kids? So we started to say, okay, it's not like exclusively. We also opened it up there to everyone who had the financial need and very specifically had the determination and the talent to make a success. And originally just a charity, people donating from their own money every month. And then first time, 1992, we got a grant from the DG Murray Trust. Fantastic event in our history. And that allowed us to give a bursary to a chubby young fellow from Gapahla in Sekhukhune land. We took him to UCT, where he was from the first, after the first year, was on the Dean's Merit list and got his degree, went to work for Accenture, and from there, went to work for Investec. His name is Setlukhani Manchidi, and he's now famous. Zolani is maybe more famous. I don't know. They will compete.
Yeah.
But he's our famous.
Will fight Zolani for the famous for that title.
And we're all blessed, me, Kovsie, Zolani, that our lives have been touched by this inspirational person, and many students, because he goes everywhere and he tells his story. I took him to Gogogo in Venda last year, where he spoke at Vele Secondary, and kind of, and then, it's just amazing to be with him. He's almost like an evangelical preacher. We're doing a revival service when he speaks about his life and how it happened. And then that's part of the reason why Zolani takes the applicants for the assessment to Investec and let them taste the life that that can be possible if opportunity and determination is combined with talent. So kind of that's where we come from. After Setlukhani became the CSI head at Investec Bank, and we started to do, he came to us immediately because he knew what the support meant to him. There alone in his first year at UCT, and then our mentor went to see him and encouraged him. So he knew the importance of mentorship. So that's why he came to us after he joined Investec. And from the start, we were involved with the Investec Bursary program, and not only doing the admin and the selection, but also very importantly doing the student support. But obviously, you must always remember 1974, lots of commonalities, and yet we are different entities. So Zolani will take them to a hotel for the selection, and then when they are successful, they come to us, and we take them to a camp for the first orientation, and then they say, "Hey, but we thought we were going to be in the hotel." We say, "No, you're not a study trust. Investor gives the money, yes, but majority of the money must now go to your studies, and you're now on budget." And then after the second day, they realize it's also very nice just to be together. Doesn't matter so much whether it's a hotel or not. So we then started doing corporate bursaries. And today our charity bit is very small, and our being a service delivery agent or service deliverer to the corporate sector is now the mainstay. And we are spending a lot of money on bursaries. Relatively, if you think of money, and yet it is a drop it's only a drop in the ocean. So that's kind of, although I'm very happy I'm on this forum today, I'm really, really so glad that you invited me. I also have to say, Investec at any one point tries to have 100 bursary students. All that, all the money, 100, it's like millions of rands that they give, and it's only 100 students. Us, generally, I think this year we will spend 200 million on bursaries, and we won't even reach 2,000 students. So now just think of that. So it's like, unfortunately, I have to give you that bad news, and that is that bursaries are very hard to come by. And it's like the best possible students that we take, academic potential. Sadly, when they then get the bursary, then we very often have to struggle to get them through because it's hard. We all know it's hard. And that's where the support comes in. And that's kind of almost very important part of what I'm telling you today, is to please go and check our resources. I'm just quickly going to put my stuff in. Where do I go? I go to chat, no? And then I put the website in there. So just go to www.grad.org.za. There are two resources there that we make available. And by the way, Investec gave us the seed funding to start this project. Nowadays, it's Capitec. Thank you, Capitec, for the money. And it's difficult to, in this competition between banks to say thank you, Standard Bank, for your contribution, Investec, the Capitec, but we have to work together here. So it's like, let the competition not prevent us from funding worthy projects. So Grad, that's our one thing, and the other one is called Grad Next. So first-year students, second-year students, Grad has a lot of tips how to make a success of your studies, how to change your study methods so that you don't stay trying to pass with rote learning, not understanding what it's all about. We come from schools where chemistry labs are non-existent. You get an A for physical science without having entered a chemistry lab. That's our culture, our learning culture. So we think that is what's going to give us success. So we continue with rote learning, and then at varsity the wheels come off. So that's the most important transition you have to make, even if you want to get bursaries. It's like you have to change from rote learning to learning with understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, eventually even at the higher level, the creation of new knowledge. That's my big advice to everyone. And that's what the bursaries will also do. The bursaries will follow. If you can manage that, then the bursaries will follow. So yes, we are available. We have bursaries, so apply, please. But unfortunately, we can only help a very small minority. So let's just say, yes, Study Trust, go to our website, apply. We are now closed for this year, so you have to go and apply for next year. We take first years, we take missing middle. We have a fund specifically dedicated to the missing middle. We but we unfortunately also concentrate on the fourth industrial revolution. So that's it. That's where we are. So unfortunately, that's it. That's where the money is. I wish they could make a law to say for every 10 science and commerce and engineering students you fund, there must be one who's doing a BA sociology, BA philosophy, BA psychology. Our only funder who's now started to go into that is Standard Bank. Thank you very much. They have now a grad program that is specifically for what they call the behavioral economy. And so psychology students, sociology students now have a chance to get bursaries, but it's only a few. And I'm also sometimes scared when I hear these things about the behavioral economy, what's going to happen, how we're going to use that knowledge. But still, unfortunately, education, we have almost no funders. There is the Jakes Gerwel Foundation. They fund students who do education. They concentrate on the fourth year. So in other words, you do your BSc, and then if you want to go and be a math teacher, then they will fund you for the fourth year. But we don't have a lot of education, almost nothing, generally, for education. Very few BA. No, very few arts and all the extremely important other areas of study. We sometimes, give a bursary to an art student. So I'm very happy to announce that Cecilia Rangwanasha from Leboa Khomo, who is now conquering the international opera stage, was our bursary student. You can ask her, she said, yeah, Study Trust brought me here. So we also have that, but an absolute exception, if it's an exceptional talent. Majority, unfortunately, STEM, commerce, you know, the skills that we so need in our economy. I'm a BA person through and through, so I would always just love to have money to also spend that, because I think it's extremely important. Look at Zolani. Where is he coming from, you know? So it's like, you know, why are we not having lots of money for that? But the reality of the matter is, at the moment, where's the money coming from? The bursary landscape. So it used to be what is called in the BE charters, it's called SED, socioeconomic development. Now, most of the money is coming from SD, skills development. And that's why you have to go onto those sites where you see bursaries SA, you know, lots of sites where they feature all the available bursaries. They make money by featuring it because obviously they have advertisements, be very careful, you know, all that, but at least the information can be found. And they check always with us. And if the information is not correct, we let them know it's not correct. So that's where you find accurate information on everybody who has a bursary. And there's a lot of bursaries nowadays because companies are rewarded if they spend a certain percentage of their payroll on bursaries. And it's full cost now. It used to be only partial before 2019, but now it's full cost. They are allowed to pay for everything, you know, on the bursary, and that counts towards the BE points. But once again, some are excluded. The percentage is according to percentage of population group. So we have very, very few Indian students who qualify for those bursaries because it's a minute part of the population, and no white students are supported. Luckily, NSFAS is colorblind. I'm very happy about that. It's only looking at income. Under 350,000, you should get a NSFAS bursary. The fact that they are struggling with admin is a sad thing, but let's not deviate from celebrating the fact that NSFAS administered DHET bursaries are available, and the commitment is to fund everyone who qualifies from an income point of view. Combined family income of below 350, they're supposed to fund you. So yeah, I think I would rather respond to the questions later.
While we're talking about NSFAS, I want to also inquire, because we have quite a number of our students joining us that are waiting for the NSFAS applications outcomes. And I want to find out, those who are successful, does that stop them from receiving bursaries, or can they use these bursaries as top up to their current NSFAS funds?
Yeah, so when NSFAS changed after 2018, in 2018, after December 2017, when it changed, we were kind of confronted with this thing. Are we now, where's the need now going to be? And then we said, okay, we'll do top up, because you know, NSFAS not giving all necessarily making enough available. They're making a lot available, but not necessarily always enough in terms of the needs. And then very quickly we realized that's not going to work. So now you have to choose. If you get one of our bursaries and you have applied for NSFAS, successfully applied for NSFAS, we tell you this is what we give, this is what NSFAS gives, and we don't have a +1 in all cases. So that's another good thing about NSFAS. It has a +1. So you have to choose. And a lot of our work then goes to making sure that the money goes back to NSFAS so that the next student can get that money. The bursary is then relieving the state from this huge responsibility of like how many billion that they have to spend on the DHET bursaries administered by NSFAS. So now you have to choose. Top up is not some, you know, there are still some top ups, but the universities are very, very allergic to top up. So even if you get a top up, don't tell your financial aid office. They're going to cancel your NSFAS on the spot. So we have to be very careful, and you can understand. If you have NSFAS, why, you know, kind of, yeah, let's rather use the other money to help people who don't have NSFAS, and that's postgrad. Sadly, no, you know, postgrad honors, NSFAS doesn't cover. And then obviously lots of students at private institutions also not covered by NSFAS. And then the missing middle, if you have 350 income, 351, you don't qualify for NSFAS. Can you imagine what it does to a family with a combined income of 351 if you have to pay 120,000 to one child? It's like, So it's like, yeah, let's rather then use the money, spread it to those others who are still in need. And I also kind of, when we look at our application lists, it's like at some stage you say, no, what are we doing? That guy is 355, not no NSFAS.
Yeah.
The marks
Yeah.
are almost the same as the other guy, but the other guy can get NSFAS. Let's rather just help this guy now. So we do bring it into our criteria when we allocate bursaries.
That's very helpful to know. Thank you very much for talking us through the offering from Study Trust, and also some of the challenges that you are facing in terms of who do you give a small limited amount of funds to, especially when the need is so big. Once again, very similar to our panelists, we will circle back to you in our Q&A segment. So we've reached that time where we're going to divert the conversation to speaking about student accommodation, and here with us our guests or our guest speakers from Housing and Residence Affairs here at the University of the Free State. We've got Mr. Hein Badenhorst, we've got Ms. Vensie also here, as well as Dineo, and we will be speaking about accommodation, particularly for students who will be registering with the University of the Free State or already registered. We want to find out what happens in terms of residence life? What does residence life comprise of? How many residences do we have available on our campuses? And let's get the conversation going. Welcome to us. Well, welcome to our platform on #SecureTheGrad. We're definitely looking forward to hearing from you. Let's kick off our conversation. Vensie, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit more about what Housing and Residence Affairs does, and a little bit about the junior as well as senior accommodation at the University of the Free State.
Good afternoon, Evodia. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Vensie Mupupwa. I'm Senior Officer, Housing and Residence, and our focus is to place students in on-campus accommodation, both junior and senior residences. So we're the ones that receive all the applications, we assess, we try to see whether all the students meet the requirements, especially for junior residences, and then the students, we are also responsible for sending out housing offers and ensuring that the residence heads are ready to welcome the students that have received these housing offers. Thank you.
Thank you, Vensie. One of my favorite people at Housing and Residence Affairs. All of them are my favorites. I'm not allowed to choose favorites, but for today, I'll say one of my favorite people. Let us hear from Mr. Hein. Is Mr. Hein with us on the platform?
He's almost there. He's almost there. Just 2 minutes. Just two minutes. Right. I think we can go over to my colleague, Dineo, who deals with off-campus accommodation.
Dineo, welcome with us. If you can give a nice hi to tell us a little bit about your role at Housing and Residence Affairs. It looks like we might be experiencing a little bit of a small challenge. With that being said, Vensie, if you maybe want to continue conversation with us while we wait for Dineo to get ready, just tell us a little bit about the difference between junior and senior accommodation. This has been a contentious topic a little bit around what is junior res, what is senior res.
Thank you, Evodia. Okay, so junior residences, we're basically looking at students who are between the ages of 18 and 22 who are applying to do their undergraduate studies. Senior residences, we are looking at postgraduate students. So students doing honors, masters, PhD, postdocs, those students are eligible to apply for senior residences. Now, I just want to quickly explain to you, sometimes a student is younger than 23, but doing postgraduate studies. That student also qualifies to stay in the postgraduate accommodation. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So how can students apply for these residences? I know in the past you could sign a form, submit, come and submit, but we are in the digital age. So how can I as a student apply for res?
Evodia, if you give me permission, let me explain to especially the first time entering students Now you apply online to the university to come and study. And then there's that little box there in the application form that's asking, would you require on-campus accommodation? And most of the students tick that box. Others miss it. So maybe if I can just explain to you quickly what happens. Once a student has applied to come and study at the university, once they've been accepted, then SAS, Student Academic Services, sends us the folder or the data with all of the students that qualify. Now, to qualify for on-campus accommodation, you need an AP score of 30 and above. So then we then filter through and start sending out housing offers. However, if the student has not ticked the box, it's not the end of the world. You just simply send us an email to resapplications@ufs.ac.za, and then we take it from there. It's important for students to understand that that email must include your full name and surname and your student number, because that will help us to track your application.
I don't know if you receive those emails, but I've often received the email that just says, "Hi, I'm looking for application accommodation. Please let me know if it's available. Thank you." Who are you? I don't know. How do I get back to you? I don't know. What is your student number? So very critical for our attendees on the platform and those who will be watching the recording to please adhere to that response. So, and I think it's a good thing that if I've missed that checkbox, that it's a possibility for me to send out. So if a student does not have an AP of 30, or let me rather speak about, I'm now a student on campus. I'm in my second year of study. Perhaps in the past, I did not have an AP of 30, but I'm really performing very, very well. And I'd like to apply for a junior res. So I'm still within the age bracket of, I think you said 18 to 22.
Yeah, that's
Can
correct.
I still apply for on-campus residence, and how does that work?
The students can still apply. So what we usually encourage students is, if you didn't get on-campus accommodation, you're staying off campus, perform academically well, right? And HRA has this, we sometimes say we make space for 5% of those students who have not had an opportunity to live on campus to apply. But of course, then remember, we only have so many beds open, because the mandate here is to fill the beds with the first time entering students. However, we have in the past and continue to make provision for students who have not had the opportunity to live on campus. But of course, perform academically, and each and every application will then be assessed on its own merits.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's very helpful. Now, one of the issues that our senior students, because we mainly cater for senior students at #SecureTheGrad, is, hi, but I've been applying for senior res. Like, what is the story with senior res? Who qualifies for senior res? And what are the biggest challenges in terms of getting access into senior residence?
Evodia, if I can be honest with you, we only have, for example, the capacity in junior residence is higher than the capacity in senior residence. So as we know, senior residences, we have students doing master's, PhD, and sometimes those take 3 to 4 years. So really we have limited spaces in our senior residences. However, with the renewal process that we slowly introduced in our senior residences, we've started opening up beds. However, we will have, for example, like this year, I only have about 50 beds open in the senior residences. So it is a challenge, and that's why my colleagues who work in off-campus really have done the best job ever to accredit off-campus accommodation, because as we know, we cannot accommodate everybody. But sometimes you can also, I always encourage senior students, come during the course of the year, because I think maybe one of the things I must stress, students apply and then they forget about the application. Come during the course of the year, come and inquire. Maybe somebody canceled and you are on the waiting list and we can place you. So yeah, it is a challenge, but some of the students do get it right. Some will say, I've applied for 3 years, can you help? And eventually the 4th or 5th year, you do get space in res. However, I say it continues to be a challenge because of the number of beds that we have available. Thanks, Evodia.
That's very informative. Mr. Hein, welcome with us. Always a pleasure to have you speak to our students. Mr. Hein, when you are ready, I know we're busy setting up your technology, but when you are ready, I'd like us to talk a little bit and maybe give our students a bit of background regarding the placement policy of the University of the Free State. I know many students think it's just these people don't want to give me a bed to sleep in. What does the placement policy say about accommodation at the University of the Free State and who it can and cannot prioritize?
Good afternoon, Evodia and colleagues, and apologies for joining late and for getting set up. They say there must be time given to the older folks as well, but thank you for having us. You've touched on the placement policy, and the policy, as we refer to it as the placement and renewal of placement policy, is a document existing since about 2010, and it has been reviewed on an annual basis, also to adapt to changing circumstances. And the real purpose of that policy is actually twofold. On the one hand is to encourage our first-time entering students to prefer on-campus accommodation subject to availability, but also through the renewal part of the policy to create space, to open space for new first-time entering students to come in. And therefore, the policy at the moment states that 40% of the capacity of a residence is reserved for returning students, and 60% of the residence capacity reserved for incoming students. So this is also part of, and it's really our tool in rolling out the mandate from the rector's office, where we are really trying to get as many as possible first-time entering students to stay on campus, as they are new to the environment. They are a vulnerable group of students, and therefore the policy is really used as a tool to assist us in this process. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense, Mr. Hein. And I hope for our attendees, you can understand why those beds are limited, especially for you, our target group, which are seniors. Many of us were first year, and I'm sure we can understand how challenging it can be for you if you are, let's say, from Leboakgomo, and all of a sudden you're in the Free State, you know nobody. And I'm assuming the best place might just be on campus for you to stay. So thank you so much for highlighting that to our audience. Mr. Hein, before we move to off-campus accommodation, we want to perhaps just quickly speak about the appeals process. There are many students that highlight that I stayed at res, my academics were good. Why was I not afforded space, although I appealed? Can you maybe talk to us a little bit that our audience understand how the appeal process works in terms of placement or replacement rather, and renewal?
Evodia, yes, the appeals process, like in many other departments, faculties on campus, is part and parcel of the process and provides an opportunity to students who did not qualify for renewal of placement to submit a written motivation. And in many instances, there are often substantiating documentation that can support the appeal. And for that reason, we have an existing appeals committee consisting of the senior director in Housing and Residence Affairs. We have representation from student leadership, the SRC, as well as a number of residence heads, in order to make sure that this is a transparent process. Now, to take an example, in 2022, we considered just close to 1,000 appeals from students in residences who were identified as not qualifying for renewal for 2023. And this committee then considered those appeals based on merit, each on its own case, considering the documentation that was submitted, to consider it in relation to the available space in the residence, But I think most important is that there's always consensus amongst the committee members on a decision, whether it's a yes or a no, that there is consensus about the decision and that there is agreement that that is the correct decision for the particular student based on the appeal that was submitted.
That is very helpful. And I hope you understand from our audience that how the appeals work. And I think the reality, just to sum up what our colleagues have also said, the reality is we have over 40,000 students enrolled at the University of the Free State across our 3 campuses with very limited bed space available. So it is, it is very tricky for the institution to cover all the accommodation needs. And that's why there has been a relationship that has been started by the institution or initiated by the institution with our off-campus providers. Now, I'd like to find out from our colleagues. I know, Dinewa, you work with off-campus accommodation. In late of last year, we've had many students complain about, what do I do about, where do I go apply? I didn't get my placement renewed. Where must I go to? How do I find a credible off-campus accommodation? Could you speak to us a little bit about what students should be mindful of when considering off-campus accommodation?
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Vodia, for the invitation. And thank you for your question. That's a very important question that you are asking. Our students really experience a lot when it comes to off-campus accommodation. I think one of the things that they should be mindful of are the scams that really are at a high, especially now in this period of registration. These scammers are on social media advertising under the guise that they are accredited, whereas they are not. So that's the first thing that they should be mindful of. We have on our website put up our accredited student accommodation addresses as well as their contact details. So if you want accommodation off campus, please make use of the website so that you are able to acquire accredited accommodation and not get scammed on social media. And your other question was on...
So can students also reach out to Housing and Residence Affairs if they want to find out a little bit more about, especially the accreditation process? I'm now staying in this commune, is it accredited by the institution? What information can you provide in that regard to students?
Definitely, they can contact us on at our offices at President Steyn Annex. We are available to confirm if an accommodation is accredited or not. And we also have all our contact details on the website so that they can be able to contact us and find that out from us.
Here's another tricky question. I know it was not part of our preparation, speaker preparation regarding this, but what is the university's role in negotiating, or at least being the middleman between students and off-campus accommodation accredited providers, rather, that's the word I was looking for, providers. One of the students in the chat spoke about contracts, some of the contracts, being from January till December, whereas we know students are not here in January and December. What is the role of Housing and Residence Affairs in this space around contracts, but also around what accommodation should look like?
Okay, when it comes to contracts, that is a relationship between the landlord and the student. However, we do assist in terms of negotiating with the landlords in terms of deposits. Some students really do not have deposits, but we also take it on a case-by-case situation where if you are unable to pay for a deposit, we are able to negotiate that you pay it over 3 months, possibly. Those are the kind of conversations we've had with our service providers. And some of them have reduced the deposit and rather charged an admin fee of about 2,500. So those are the measures that we have tried to put in place. But if you are struggling with that, you are more than welcome to visit our offices, where we can definitely assist you in contacting the service provider and negotiating with them on your behalf. And also, when it comes to contracts, we do highly advise that students also visit the law clinic. The law clinic is there to assist us. They have really been doing a great job last year, where they've assisted students with how to read a contract and what the type of contract you are getting yourself into, what it means when it comes to refunds, what are the waiting periods, if they are also not being cheated or scammed by the landlords in these contracts. So please make use of the law clinic. They are more than willing to help and assist the students. And when it comes to the term of the contract, NSFAS funds 10 months of the year. So generally, students are not here during January and December, generally speaking. So those 10 months, those of the academic year from February until November, that's what NSFAS covers.
That's very, very informative, and I hope our students are listening. And I think this is, I mean, I've been a student, I'm not going to reveal my age, but I've been a student here at the university since 2007. And I stayed mostly off campus till my senior years, where I was part of a senior res. And I can tell you as a student that these are not services that previously existed. And I think it's something good to know that there is some form of liaison role that your office plays. And we will be also putting down email addresses of who to contact in our chat. So thank you for that. So while we're on the point of contracts and contracts ending, I want to maybe speak to either Vinci or Mr. Hein about if the student no longer has placement and they have to now live off campus, how can students claim that deposit back that they initially paid? And how do they cancel their accommodation on campus if they no longer qualify to stay on campus?
Thank you, Evodia. If I may have an opportunity to answer that. It's simple. What we always encourage students, if you did not get place or renewal of placement in residence, it's important for students to complete or request a cancellation form. Now, that cancellation form needs to be signed by your residence head and your prime. Without those signatures, we cannot process the cancellation form. Once the cancellation form has been received by HRA, we then process it and issue the student with a proof of cancellation. Now, that proof of cancellation is either taken to the finance department or emailed to them via tuitionfees@ufs.ac.za. They then will process it and take it from there in terms of sending the students claim forms. If you have not completed a cancellation form, you cannot claim the 960. But now also maybe I need to just inform students that if you have outstanding fees, you cannot claim the 960 because then finance will automatically move it then to reduce the debt that you have. But that is only for self-paying students.
I think that's important. I did not know that. Even as a residence head, I did not know that. So I think that's very important information. So please do also remember, and Vinci, you can vouch for this. If a student never sends that cancellation form and they don't stay on campus, what happens? Does that still indicate on the ADS? What is the case in that regard? Or does it automatically get canceled and removed from the student account?
So it becomes problematic. Maybe I should also just add, sometimes there are students who got placement back into residence and they decide they're going to stay off campus. Now, usually what we do towards the end of the year, we will request residence heads to send us room shooting lists. Now, we book students in on the system so that when you do register, you reflect as an on-campus student. That becomes a problem for students then, because now on the ADS, you are reflecting as an on-campus student, you are booked in, which means you are liable for the costs. So if you don't cancel, if you don't fill in that cancellation form, you are liable for a place that you have not stayed in for the year or for the semester. So it is important. However, if you move out, and of course, the residence head confirms that you are not in the residence anymore, that 960 remains in the contingency account until claimed by the student.
So some of you are going hungry here. Meanwhile, you have a 960 in that account. You know, towards end of the month, where you start looking at all the savings pockets, where's that last 50 rands? So please do go and claim your funding if you know that you've never claimed that 960 deposit that you have. Thank you so much. I think that conversation has been so good that we have went way over our Q&A segment. In this segment, we're going to ask that should you have a question for any of our panelists, whether it's regarding funding or accommodation, that you do raise your hand. We will note your hand and our team will enable your microphone so that you may ask your question. We will keep it a bit brief because we also need to announce our webinar winners and give our panelists an opportunity to make that last contribution. So let me just see in the segment. Also remember, while we're waiting to see and acknowledge your hands, please do complete our webinar feedback survey. We want to definitely hear from you, and you can also stand a chance to win a few prizes if you complete the feedback survey. So we do have 4 hands currently. Xolisile, Neo, and Jwalani. Xolisile, your mic is enabled. You may unmute and tell us your question.
Okay, hey everyone. I'd like to ask some questions specifically to Standard Bank. Okay, so my first question is that how long will it take for my student loan to be approved? And then the second one is that can I use my university letter as a proof of residence when I apply for the loan? Thank you.
Thank you. So before our panel members answer, we're going to take the first 4 questions and then allow opportunity for our panels to answer. Thank you for the question. Neo, you may go ahead.
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
You are loud and clear. What is your question?
Okay, thank you. I don't know. I've been having a problem with network. So, but according regarding funding, I haven't seen any funding. I haven't seen any guys talking about any funding regarding the agriculture sector, because some of us, we are under agriculture, unless if it was me, since I've been having problem with network. I'm more interested in the one of accredited off-campus accommodations. I do understand whenever there's a contract, the contract shows a relationship between the landlord and the student. But then what happens when the landlord decides to breach the contract? I mean, most of in the contract, they include their services, and their services are a must that they perform, as I also live according to their rules. If they say no alcohol, I do not bring alcohol in their complexes. So what if they don't play their role? And then whenever we try talking to them, they shut us down. Or maybe if we like tell them, okay, fine, we're gonna take this somewhere higher, and they'll be like, okay, fine, just go there. Is there a role a university is supposed to play in that part or something like that? That's what I'd like to know.
Thank you for your question. I hope our panel members are noting it down. Thank you, Jwalani Achneo. Jwalani, you are next, and then Tlantla, and then we're going to close this round of questions.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
You are audible. What is your question?
I have 2 questions, one for Standard Bank and one for HRA. So the first one is, when taking a student loan and you excel, you do really well in your academics, does that have an impact on the money that you pay back? Does it have an impact on that? And then my question for HRA is that I heard Ms. Vinci say if you're under a bursary program, you will not be getting your 960. Why is that? What if you have been given that 160 by a friend or or your extended family member? How will that work out? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. I'm going to ask that we maybe just cut the first round there because we do have quite a number of questions. And then should time allow, we'll take a second round, but we'll also look at your questions in the chat function. To our panelists, let's start with Standard Bank and then move over to HRA or any of our panelists that want to speak to the finance questions.
Hi, Vodia, will start. Thank you. The first question was the one of the how long it takes to be approved. For the student loan with the surety, you get the feedback immediately at the spot. With a student loan with a surety, the one without a surety, you submit the application within 7 working days, you'll get the feedback. So as long as you've submitted, I know that usually after within 48 hours, they will come back to you and ask you for the documents. So the same time, when you submit your application, they give you an email address where you submit the documents. So once you've submitted everything and they are happy, they will send you an SMS that you are approved. You need to go to the nearest branch to sign the contract. So once you sign the contract and everything, the following day, they will have done the payment. So let's say everything can be done within 7 working days.
I also see, just if I can weave in one of the questions here, Fifi, if a student is, and I think you did mention this, but maybe if you can reiterate this to our audience, if the student wants to know if they can still apply for the loan while they're waiting for that NSFAS SMS in terms of their funding, can they still apply to you?
Yes, they can apply. They can apply. Remember, the only time, the critical time when it comes to funding is when you signed a contract, we released the funds. That is when the problems comes in, because of that's when the student loan account is opened. So once the funds are released, that's when the NSFAS can transfer the funds to us. You just ask for that proof of settlement from us, then you can take it to the NSFAS. So you can do that, you can apply while you're still waiting for the feedback.
Okay, I think that also answers partially your question, Dimpo. I want to ask from Investec as well as Study Trust if any of your funding opportunities include students in a BSc agriculture program.
Yes, okay, so let me start here. We are looking for limited numbers of agriculture students. We have some funders who want to sponsor them, not many, but a few. We wish they were, we could fund more because obviously we believe that that is a crucial industry for South Africa. May I just, why you're asking me, and sorry to Zolani and Khoitsi, but just quickly say, I forgot to mention that there's a new developing source for bursary funding. And we are luckily privileged that we also are part of giving some of those bursaries, and that is the renewable energy industry. And I know that there are, there's a plant very close to Bloemfontein where they want students from Bloemfontein, but many of your students are coming from the Northern Cape and so on, and there might be a plant close to them, or even even places like the R, they have wind and sun farms, and those plants have to spend some part of their profit on socioeconomic development, and many of them are using it for bursaries. So if there's a plant in your area, go to the people that are known in town who are in charge of the socioeconomic development part of their responsibility, and make sure that you find out about the bursaries, because they usually don't worry so much about STEM and all of that. They give bursaries to more than just the other study areas. So we have teachers, we have BAs, communication, BA, socio, all of those. So that's a fantastic development, and there are going to be more and more of those plants, especially in those wind-swept and sun-scorched parts of the country. That's where the plants are. Go and find out whether they might have a bursary opportunity and how to apply for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. That is very helpful. Just want to then go back to, we also just from our colleagues at HRA around the, there are two questions. There were two questions around, is there any intervention from HRA if the landlord is not keeping up their end of the contract, as well as if it's what happens to that 960 if you are a bursary holder?
Okay, that's a very important question. Thank you for that question. Firstly, when it comes to landlords keeping their end of the bargain, that's firstly an accreditation question. So when we accredit an accommodation, that means there are certain things that we expect to be in place. For example, Wi-Fi, which should be uncapped, and those things should be in place before we accredit a place. So if a place is accredited, the expectation is from HRA, from the off-campus office, that they are providing certain services. So the students are definitely able to come to us with those cases where we can intervene and get into an investigation to see if the landlords are not keeping their end of the bargain, so that we can investigate and deal with that situation.
Thank you very much, Gina. That's very helpful. Vinci, can bursary holders claim back their 960?
Evodia, thank you for that question. Yes, you can. What I wanted to just make probably just clear out here is the 960 is refundable. So what we say is whether you are a bursary holder or not, the 960 has to be paid. So if your fees are paid up, you just go to finance with your proof of cancellation and you claim your 960. Maybe if I can just quickly also mention something very important. Evodia, there are students who receive housing offers, especially your first time entering students. It is important for students to understand that when you receive a housing offer, the 960 secures your bed. Now, there are students who will say, I don't have the 960, what must I do? The 960 can be paid in 2 installments. So if you're deciding that you're saying I only have 150 Rand, make that payment, sign the confirmation and send it through to HRA. We will then secure your bed. Once you've made the second payment, then you send us the proof of payment. Because I know a lot of first time entering students will say, I can't afford the 960, then they go quiet. Then the offer expires, meaning when your offer has expired, the bed just goes to the next person who is on the waiting list. So it's important for especially first time entering students to understand that the 960 must be paid, but if you cannot afford to pay the 960, you can make payments in 2 installments. Thanks, Evodia.
You heard it. I don't like calling a lady a horse, but you heard it from the horse's mouth. So please remember, once the offer has been made, you only have a limited amount of time to respond to that offer. So I think the university has really extended a lot of care for our students who cannot afford to pay that full amount. Unfortunately, our time is up for the Q&A, but I see our lovely panelists have been responding in the chat to many of your questions. At this point, we'll also be announcing our winners, but one last point I would like Zolani to maybe quickly weigh in on. Zolani, when our students get an opportunity or their bursaries become successful, or Investec says, hey, there's a bursary opportunity. Alan Gray Overs Foundation says, here's an opportunity. Standard Bank says, here's an opportunity. Or one of the study trust partners says, here's an opportunity. What should students consider before they sign on that dotted line? Because if you say you're taking me to Sandton, you're buying me a laptop, you are paying for my clothing allowance, you're giving me a psychologist, I'm very tempted to not even read the contract. I'm tempted to just sign. But what advice would you give to our students if that offer comes? What should they consider?
Sure. No, thanks a lot, Evodia, for that question. You know, as you're asking, I'm thinking of, I'm not sure if I'm paraphrasing or this is verbatim, but you know, the saying that when you are under extreme emotions, never make decisions. If you're too happy, don't commit. And if you're too sad, don't commit. Wait until your emotion settles. And it's so important because, and it's not even from a student front, a lot of us get into contracts without really understanding their implications because in the moment, it feels like the right thing to do. So I think it's important, especially for students who are considering bursaries. You've heard what the bursary offers, etc. You know what this company's brand can do. I mean, anyone thinks of the brand and the, you know, the implications it could have for their own trajectory. But you need to look at, is there a work back commitment that I am signing into here? So in other words, if I take this bursary, am I expected to come work for this company? And also, if there's that expectation, what does it mean if this company, say, for example, you know, you graduate and then a company that funded your studies is offering you a job that's going to pay you 200K per annum, and then another company is offering you 500K per annum, right? You, in that moment, you are tempted to want to go for the 500K, forgetting that you had made a commitment from first year that you would come and work for the other company. So it's so important for you to actually understand if there's a work back commitment that is asked by your bursary, ask for the details of that work back. How can I get out of it when I think and I want to get out of it? What would be the implications of me getting out? So in most cases, funders will say, well, if you refuse an offer of a job that we're making you, then you'll have to pay us back the money that we spent educating you, all that stuff. And that's a huge loan that you don't want under your, like, under your belt. And so it's so important, especially with the work back stuff. Can you hear me, Evodia? Sure. And then also, the other thing that I think students need to really be cognizant of are the actual programmatic requirements of each bursary. So in most cases, funders will not just throw money at you, they'll have a wraparound program that they're implementing. And so when you sign on the dotted line, you are saying, yes, when Investec runs the work readiness program, I will avail myself to attend the work readiness program. When Ellen Gray is running an entrepreneurship, jamboree, I'm going to attend jamboree because that's what the program requires. So it's very important that you know that some of these programmatic requirements are additional to your academic commitments. So when you sign up, you know that I'm a medical student, but on this date, I have to attend this conference, or I have to attend this summit because it comes with the funding that I have. Last point, sorry, Evodia, on this is that in most cases, students will get one bursary. Say we offer you a bursary as Investec, but in high school, when another auditing firm or a consulting firm came to your high school, they had a nice chat with you and they told you about VAC work and you maybe got exposure to this during career day, etc. And you signed up and you signed things and you didn't know what you were signing your life into, right? And in most cases, you come into the Investec bursary and then we say to you, listen, we think since you're in the quant space, we would like to make an offer of employment to you once your bursary has been completed. And then all of a sudden the auditing firm is like, okay, hold on, in matric, you are with us. What's going on, right? And so it's very important that you're a lot more conscious of what commitments did I make when those auditing firms came? What were the implications of that? The nice thing with the Investec bursary is that we don't have an expectation that you will come work for us once your studies are complete. We do have a right of refusal clause where if we offer you employment and another company offers you employment, we expect that you would choose us. But in any case, if we don't offer you employment, you're free to do whatever you want. We're not coming after you. We're not asking you to pay any cent back. That's where it ends in essence.
Thank you so much. And I think we don't often think of those implications. Now, all of a sudden, let's say this company offers even a better salary, better benefits, but I'm tied to a contract that I've forgotten about from 6-7 years ago. This is almost, so I don't know if you guys played Mantlwane back in the days, like Umama no Tata, and back in our backyard, and you married that guy. You like play married that guy from grade 3. And now your real boyfriend wants to come pay lobola, and your play boyfriend or your play husband from grade 5 comes back and says, Sisi, you are married to Avumtembu. So now you either bring back our lobola or you come into this marriage. And I think we forget about these contracts, and it's human nature. I know when I'm desperate, I'm not even thinking of what the clause is. And I know it's got nothing to do with this webinar, but I want to just perhaps re-emphasize the importance of contracts. I think we spoke about it in terms of the off-campus providers. I got into a finance agreement with my car, and we were about to go on holiday. And I remember thinking, oh, I must have a car. And the guy was just like, listen, it's December, I'll throw in a free car wash, I'll throw in free full tank petrol. And by that time, I mean, if you're buying a new car, you don't have extra money for full tank petrol. I'll even give you number plates. If you want to personalize, we'll give you a discount. And guys, I was chuffed by the benefits. When they said even lower installment, I'm like, yes, sharp for lower installment. I forgot about that balloon payment. It's almost like that balloon payment coming to bite you at the end of your 5 years, and they want that big amount, and you're thinking, either I go take the children's school fees or something needs to happen. And I really want to encourage that whether it's a loan agreement you are signing, whether it is a bursary application you are taking up, whether it's some form of benefit and a top up, go do due diligence. Read that contract. If you do not understand, the university has partners such as the law clinic, where you can take your contract to in terms of understanding that difficult jargon that even myself cannot understand sometimes. So with that being said, we are ready 2 minutes before we close the webinar. I know we need more time. We've extended. This webinar used to be just 1 hour. So we've extended by an additional hour. Unfortunately, we can't extend by 3 hours. Those would be our master classes that will soon advertise. So as we close off the webinar, I'd like the team to quickly announce our winners that have signed up, attended, as well as engaged in today's webinar, meaningfully engaged in today's webinar. Team, if you're ready, you may announce our winners. Stabile Makoba, Nhlanhla Simelani, Sibongile Valashia, Dimpo Ogechi Mukoten, as well as Ogechi Mukoten. Yay! Ogechi is from my residence. Congratulations. Your vouchers will be sent to you, but please remember to contact us at securethegrad@ufs.ac.za in order to claim your prize. But also, if you need academic support, guys, as you heard from Zolani and Dr. Murray, academics get tough. Those of you who are seniors, like when it's going, it's really going. But we've got you as an institution. Please contact us on our contact center, GPS 051-401-9111. You can press option 2. Alternatively, you can also email us at gps@ufs.ac.za. If you need academic advising and you want to find out about how you can make sense about what you're studying and the career you're going to get into, or you generally just need to understand what's happening with your academic program, please get in touch with our academic advisors. Alternatively, you can WhatsApp us on 087-240-6370. If you need academic support, we do have tutors absolutely for free. A-Step across Bloemfontein, Kwakwa, as well as South Campus. You can email us at astep.ac.za. So for all our winners, please remember to get in touch with us via email with your full name, surname, student number, and cell phone number, where we can reach you at securethegrad@ufs.ac.za. Please also remember to complete our feedback form. We'd like to know, were we a hit or were we a miss? Or were we just lukewarm? And how can we improve? And also tell us, Who would you like to hear from? We'd like to hear from you. If you had load shedding for some reason or data ran out and you couldn't get the full webinar, don't worry, the session has been recorded. We'll send you the link via email. But I also want to encourage you, do follow us on our YouTube channel or go subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Secure the Grad. You'll get a recording of this video, but also follow us on Instagram for more info. We will be bringing you all the hottest, I don't want to say baddest because this is an academic setting, but because academics have not started, we're going to bring the biggest and the baddest. Those of you who joined us late, you did not see our trailer. We are busy cooking something hot for our students. Guys, university should not just be about stress. It should be about fun as well. So those of you who don't know what Freshers Ball is, ne? You are too young. But think of the biggest, baddest party that the university has ever had. Secure the Grad is bringing you a big party on the 17th of March. So please follow our social media to find out more. We're going to be bringing some hot artists, maybe Amapiano, and please tell us, who would you like to see on stage? We're also going to be having some local acts. Zolani, Dr. Mari, Khwetsi, if you know of people who want to fund this initiative, this is a fundraising initiative for many of our students who are in their final year of study but do not have money. So we will be raising funds. With our ticket sales, we're raising funds to cover students who cannot qualify for bursaries for some reason, or we know that there's only a small pot for bursaries, but we want to be able to top up their funds. So we are going to be talking to many, we're already talking to many corporates, but for you as students, please look out for our trailers going out on social media soon. To our panelists, I could not say a bigger thank you. We will be inviting you back. This is the first of our 2 series webinars. So in the middle of the year, when those applications open up, we will be in contact with you to make sure that we come and do a tips and tricks masterclass for our students on how to complete those bursary applications and what they should include there to make sure that they improve their chances of being successful. From myself and the team in the background, you've been a wonderful guest. You've been a wonderful audience. Till next time, remember to follow us. Goodbye.
Thank you. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Vodia.
Enjoy the weekend.
Have a lovely weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Atlantic. Me, in terms of answering, just answering on campus.